Welcome to Xero Hero, a short video blog from HBA Encompass aimed to make your Xero journey easier. Please note that all the slides today have been created from existing Xero training videos. Xero has rapidly changed in the past few years, so sometimes the pictures are using old screenshots or overseas versions. Where possible, each session is followed up by a live demonstration. If you have any queries regarding any content delivered today, feel free to contact me via email, victoria@hbaencompass.com.au or phone 0754 447094. Welcome to Contacts.
So as we know, the contacts list gives us our list of our customers, our suppliers and general contacts employees, which is a bit like a CRM system for your business from some perspective. So you can look at it by going up the top to contacts. You can either go to all contacts, customers or suppliers. And really the lists are the most important parts here. So adding of a contact, I think we've probably all got down pat by now, because obviously if you're going to send an invoice to someone, you need to have their name, their address and that kind of details. And of course their email address so you can email it. So we'll just walk through the thing. Clicking on the add contact is pretty straightforward. The thing that you mightn't know is that if you've got Skype on your computer and you've got their Skype address in their contact, you can actually just click on the Skype button and start talking to them, assuming they pick up, of course. So let's have a look here. The other thing that you can do, we've just opened Bayside Club here just to show you what it is. It's a quick look of what they have outstanding or what bills you have outstanding to them and any that are overdue. Also their postal address and their street address, and Xero uses Google Maps. So if you need to go and visit them, you can actually look at the map before you go so you know where you're going. And the Xero app has that as well. So Xero Touch is the Xero app. So that comes on your phone. We've spoken to it a few times for using with receipts and stuff like that, or as we said, that Xero's marketing campaign that you do your bank rec while you're on the bus. But more importantly, if you're out and about and you need to contact someone, you can go directly into their contact and ring them directly from there. You can Skype them and you can see where they are. So if you don't know exactly where it is, instead of having to find their address and then going back to Google Maps on your phone or your GPS in your car and plug it in, you can just click on the little map icon and see exactly where it is. So very handy on the go. There's also a financial history of notes about the actual person. So down the bottom of the notes section, there's the notes history. Now that note history carries through in everything that we do. So when we create an invoice or a bill, you'll see that there's a notes history down the bottom. It says who created it, who edited it, or what was changed within it. So this is a history and notes for a contact. So you can see here that it was created on the 10th of January. I think because it's a demo company that it's actually created after the day that it was edited. It could be because it was different time zones at the time perhaps. But then you can see that Simon's gone in and changed the bank account and put the bank account details in. So if you ever have something that's changed, and particularly it's wrong and you want to point a finger at someone, you can see exactly who it is. And that's one reason why we make sure that we give different users or different staff their own logins to our Xero file, so you can always track down who's done what. The other thing is that you can add files within the contacts. So we've spoken about files in the context of invoices, but the same concept works with just contacts as well. So perhaps for employees you might want to put contracts of employment or any other copies of documents relating to them that you can keep there. And it works exactly the same way as the file system up the top here does. So you can either add a file from the library, which will take you back to these files here, or you can upload them at any time. So when I'm talking about employees and contracts of employment, it can also be good for customers. We might have contracts or other documents that you might need to keep for them, perhaps building contracts and stuff like that, something you might want to get from time to time and make sure that you've got access to. Just keeping in mind that anything that's in that file system, I think that anyone who has, I think it's just general access or above, has access to all those files. So if it's confidential, you may not want to keep it in there. Okay. So as far as going from being in the contact screen, Xero has a lot of different ways of going about things. We've talked about defaults before. We've been talking about invoices, and you can actually set defaults for each customer. So by going in here and clicking on the edit button, you can set a discount. So this person here might be a really great customer, and you said that you'll give them a 5% discount on your standard fees. You can put that in there. So you just go through and do your invoices normal. You sell a box of golf balls and it automatically takes 5% off it. We can put their bank account details in there so that if we use the batch payment files and the ABA file that goes with that, it's already in there. We can set the invoice settings. So some people have more than one branding theme for invoices. Perhaps they've got one or two businesses running through the same entity, or probably a prime example here is HBA Encompass. We have HBA Encompass, which is our normal accounting, but we have another side business called Virtual CFO. So if we wanted to do some CFO type invoices, we could use a different branded theme on that if we wanted to. We put by default when their bills are due. So you might know that the company that you're working with could be a big company and they only pay their bills at the end of the month, regardless of when you want it or not, and you have no say in that. So the big mining companies are prime examples of that. And you can put the default date due when it is, so that you don't have to remember to change it at the end. So instead of having all these ones showing up that are overdue, but you really know you're going to get paid the first day of the next month, instead of putting 7 days on it and just doing your heading because you've got all these overdue invoices, you can make that the 20th of the following month or 14 days or whatever it is. So you can do the same thing for bills and the same thing for sales. The other thing that we haven't really spoken about is Xero network keys. So what this does is if your client is on Xero, you can go 0 to 0 with your invoices. So very, very handy when you've got groups of companies within one entity, or within one family group or something like that, where you invoice from one entity to another, that you can invoice out of one and it automatically shows up as accounts payable in the other. So it stops the data entry at both ends. And I believe that if you have files in there, those PDF documents, that when you do it, it'll automatically bring them through as well. But that needs to be actually provided by the contact. And I'll show you where to go to find that when we get into the live version. But it can be really handy. The other thing is that normally to go in and do a new bill or a new invoice, would either go to the dashboard and then go over to the right-hand side into bills or invoices, or we can go into accounts and invoices. But you can see here there's a new button at the top. So if you're in that contact and say perhaps you want to set up a new client, you put their details in and you want to invoice them straight away, instead of having to go back to the main page and then go through the steps to invoice, you can just click on the new sales invoice or the new bill. So it's quite a time saver in the number of clicks that you need to do to get from one section to another. Now, as it says here, when you create a contact, you don't need to specify it's for customer or a supplier, and you can use the same contact for either sales or purchases, and Xero conveniently classifies them as one or the other or both if you use them for both. So some systems, and I think QuickBooks in particular is a real bugger for this, in that you need to set them up as a customer and as a supplier, or you can't do the right kind of invoices for them, which is just ridiculous. So Xero is very handy from that point of view. Adding a contact we've dealt with before, but what we can do here, which we touched on, is we can go into the new sales invoice or the new bill directly from there. We can add documents from our file library or upload files. We can merge them or we can archive them. So contacts is pretty cool and pretty easy. The smart list is the things that probably need the most playing with to be. My name's Victoria Berry. I'm one of the directors of HBA Encompass. So if you need to contact me, my email address is victoria@hbaencompass.com.au, or of course our phone number is 0754 44 7094. Thanks for listening.